So my name is Andrew McDonald. I work with the engineering outreach team at the University of Ottawa here in Ottawa, Canada. And so we do in-classroom workshops ranging from all sorts of different technologies. One that I'm really interested in and great to get started is Scratch. So that's why I'm here today helping out with Joe. So if Joe, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Joe Druskin. I live and teach in Minneapolis, Minnesota, kindergarten through 5th grade, engineering and programming at the Blake School. And Scratch is the primary programming language we use in upper elementary. And
Come on. All right. I'm just going to jump out of the presentation for a second and drop in the Google Doc for the notes there. So
And I will say, when you get to the Google Doc, if you scroll down a ways, there's a table where you could fill in your information. That would be great. It's wonderful to have you here.
Yeah. So as our facilitators are up there, but then we've got people can join in and share about what they what their interests are, what their experience is, and those sort of things. So yeah, please feel free to throw in questions as well as anything you want. So yeah. And then yeah, so just a little bit about what we wanted to share, and just to get the ball rolling. I know a lot of you might be trying to either support teachers that are out there or are a teacher yourself, and so trying to think about how to integrate curriculum connections with Scratch. I think that's one of the things that people are hesitant about. So one of the things that we had wanted to share about is a few resources that are out there already that you can grab. So we put a link in the docs in there. But yeah, so a couple of them are the Scratch Ed curriculum. So that's the creative computing curriculum that's based out of the Harvard School Graduate School of Education. So they've got a nice document for thinking about integration into lots of different areas. And they also run Scratch Ed meetups. And so another opportunity to sort of continue to snowball ideas, building out things. So those are opportunities there. We've also got a link to the Google, the CS First curriculum. So for those of you that are dealing with, again, students can work at their own pace. There's videos both in English and in Spanish. And then there's curricular connections. I know here in Canada, there's curricular connections in Ontario, the province of Ontario, and also in the States. I think there is, and correct me if I'm wrong, either Common Core standards that are hit or some other standards that are there as well. So those are good starting points as well. San Francisco has also got a really good website that's grades 3 to 5, and they highlight in different curricular areas, step-by-step projects. So some really good resources there. Boot Up is a company that has, I think it's a nonprofit if I remember correctly. So they've got some really good starting projects. And as you can see, some professional development as well. So a lot of opportunities there to learn some more. Raspberry Pi has all of their resources available online. So the Raspberry Pi Foundation, they are the umbrella that also runs Code Club and Coder Dojo. And both of them have some great resources as well. To share great step-by-step instructions for creating projects, and those projects have been translated into, I think, over 28 languages. So great for those of you with students with a different background in language. So, and then I'm excited to be here because it is Scratch Month. Now that Scratch Day is not really happening, usually it happens about the second week of May, which would be today, I guess, or approximately today. So it's a day of just exploring and building with Scratch, and it happens all over the world. We were going to host one here. I know that they host them all over the place. But now Scratch has sort of gone online with it and promoting a Scratch events virtually, and Scratch project ideas. So every week they come out with new project ideas, and they have the Scratch on the Scratch page. They have some great ideas there. And actually, I'm going to go over to the Scratch page and just show where we have some of these ideas. Oh, that sounds awesome. So one of your Cecilia was just mentioning that one of her students have built a Scratch project and won the Raspberry Pi Code Club National Contest. That sounds really cool. You should drop a link either in the chat or in the doc so we can have a look at it and see what there is there. So as you can see, here's the Scratch page. I have a teacher account. And if you're interested in a teacher account, how to get one, you scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's the For Educators link, and it will step you through how to create an account. But if we go back up, I put a link in for ideas. So ideas is a great place to get started with tutorials and other project activity guides. So it sort of steps you through how to do various things. So creating a story, making it fly. I didn't want to take the time now to sort of create together just because we're so limited. So I'm sort of like throwing a whole bunch of resources at you, and that Google Doc is there. So you can go back, and this YouTube video will be available, so you can sort of take your time to explore some of these things. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of tutorials. So I think I put a link in there. There's also these scratch cards, which are really great. You can get the scratch cards give a little bit of a snapshot of, if you want to do this, here's the code that you need to do. So they're great. They're available to download and print if you want. Also available to purchase as well. And then the other thing too is also nice is they have these starter projects. So if students are sort of struggling, they don't know where to start, you can either give them one of these coding cards, or you can suggest a starting project. They can do that. And then I'll just jump back into the main here. So we've got on the first page, if you scroll down a little bit, they've got sort of featured project or featured studios. And these last three here, 1, 2, 3, so the sprite art, interview anything, and how do you piece out, are the ideas for this week's, or the week that just finished, the Scratch month activities that they were suggesting. So again, there's a link in the Google Doc for the ideas and the links to the studios. So those are really good to get started and to get some ideas of what kids can do with different things. Yeah, if anybody has any questions about like to do anything quickly, I can definitely show how to do that. I know Christine asked how to set up a studio. That's something I can quickly do right now. Because I think that was it in terms of some of the resources I wanted to share quickly. So to set up a studio, if you go into My Stuff, so which you can access through the little dossier here, or if you click on your profile and go into My Stuff, then you can do that. So click on my stuff. And then you'll see the projects that you have. So all projects, I have a few. So there's shared projects and unshared projects. So ones are the ones that everybody can see, and some is I'm still sort of work in progress type of thing. Then there's my studio here. So I can see those there. And then so I can create a new studio two ways. One is up here on the top right, I can just create a new project, or I can just click create a new studio. The other option is if I go into my studios, that will show me my studios, and then I can again click new studio. So if I wanted to just click a new studio, and then you'll see this sort of untitled nature. So I can put an image here. I can put a little description about what the studio is about. I can add projects. If I'm doing this with students, and maybe I don't have a teacher account, maybe someone else has created a teacher account with them, or you're doing this as a club and everybody else has their own account, that sort of thing. So you can do it as allow anyone to add projects, and so this means that anybody and everybody can add things to it. You can also comment on particular studios, just like you can comment on Scratch projects. And then there's the curators as well. So curators is people who can sort of have a look at the Scratch project. So again, it depends on if I allow everyone to add Scratch projects. That can be part of the curators tab. So I'm currently the manager or the owner of it, and then you would see all the curators down here. So those would be the people that would sort of help manage it. So for those of you that are in there, it's a great way to organize projects and to keep things. If you're having a group on online and you're wanting them to share about their hack the Windows project or some of those other projects that are out there, then they can share them there. So Jen just had a question. She's having a little bit of struggling with setting up student accounts for grade 3 to 5 learners. I've done it with their I've done it by creating accounts in advance and having and I guess having them create their own. So in terms of having their own account, it can be a little bit of a struggle because you got to keep track of like usernames and passwords and those sort of things. So maybe as the teacher, you can have a Google Doc or a Google slide or a Google Sheet sort of thing that you keep all of their information in it. Because with a teacher account, if a student forgets their password, you can go in from that side and you can modify those things. So it definitely, as Shambi mentioned in the chat, gives you more control over their individual accounts. And it seems like Shambi also put a slide deck on how to set up a teacher account. Thanks very much. Hope you were able to add that to the Google Doc as well, because I'm sure that a lot of educators would be interested in doing that.
Yeah, and it looks like there are a number of people here who have some experience using the teacher account or the classroom account. I also am always looking for tips on how to manage them.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a difficult thing to like manage and get students to push back their finished or not finished stuff. So for example, here are as a teacher, you have what are called classes. And so I'll just go into this one. So this one I created as an example. So Scratch Ed Meetup, and you just click on it, and it sort of looks like a studio, but there's a little bit more in there. So you can have studios within your classes, and then we can add different things. So it almost looks like a Scratch account in the sense. And then you can have students in there and different studios. And so I can show you, I'll just go back and I'll show you one that I have used with a group. So this was an enrichment activity that I was working with a school. And then, so there are all the students we can see in there. I didn't have any shared studios, just because I just wanted them to create, and this was like a 3-4 week activity, just building and playing and that sort of thing. So different ways to use it. I feel that there's so many options that you can use. I know for those of you that with a learning management system, that you might get the students to copy their scratch code, the URL to their project, and submit it back as an assignment, because it's, you know, a way for you to keep track of things as well. So if anybody had any other suggestion, tips, or tricks, please feel free to unmute yourself. It's an opportunity for you to share your tips and tricks as well. I'd love to hear.
Yep. And I'll jump in just to recount some of the chat questions. There was a question about uploading from working the offline version, and then how I haven't used CS First, so I think that's an interesting question about the need. Is there a need for a studio, or does CS First have systems for managing student work? I know when I first set up classrooms, I did it for, and we provide students a Google account in 3rd grade that they use for Drive. And so I will take their passwords and create accounts in Scratch. So it's the same password is how I manage that. But in the first year I did it just for 3rd grade by teacher name. And then when they moved to 4th grade, I was stuck because were shifted around in different classes. So I've started doing it just by their graduation year from high school. So there's a class of 2027, class of 2028, and they keep their accounts as they move through grade by grade. And as new students come in, I just add them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so as Shambi mentioned in the chat, there's no need for studios with CS First. Do you have more experience with CS First, Shambi, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more?
Yeah, so I've been using it since 2016. And what happens when the students log in, you have to create a club. So once they put your club code in, every student that logs in automatically gets put into your dashboard. So you're able to track, did they watch the videos? Have they moved on to the next lesson? Did they move on to the next lesson but not watch the video? So you can track all the students and you're able to control. So everything gets put into one dashboard so you don't have to create studios.
That's really good. I just opened up the site here. So again, it's just, if you just Google CS First, but the website is csfirst.withgoogle.com. And there it is. Yeah. So they have a whole bunch of curriculum. So like 1-hour activities if you're just getting started. And they also show, you know, this is an introductory. There's 2 activities, about an hour, disponible en español, or en español, I guess. As someone who I usually speak in French as my other language. So maybe I'm saying it wrong. Sorry for that. But for those of you working with students in Spanish, then you can know that and that means that all the instructional videos, and we can just jump into one here. So like narration, and we can go through, and so it shows you, you know, take an existing story and explore 1st and 3rd person point of view. So some great ELA applications, and you go through, there's starting the story, there's a little bit of, so they have some interaction as well during it. So it's really interesting to get started. And as I mentioned before, it's aligned with education standards. I was wrong, it's not Common Core, it's ISTE and CSTA standards, but it's some great ideas there. So yeah, if anybody is interested in learning more, then please feel free. I know we're going to probably head back to our other sessions, but yeah, if you're interested. The last question, I know that I think it was Christine asked about people working on an offline basis, because I know that you know, with this distance learning, not every student has access to the internet at all times. So there is the opportunity to download Scratch and work with your work on offline with it. And then what you can do is, if you're in the Scratch, so I'm just going to create a new project, and what the students will do is, when they want to push it online into a shared studio with you, is they'll create a blank project. And Joe, what time do we have to go back? You'll have to remind me of the time.
Thinking 10:35. Let me double check.
Okay, so we have
Yeah.
a couple more minutes. Okay.
Yep, because I know Jen,
but yeah,
we have Jen's question next.
Yep. And so we've got here. So this is a blank project that I've created. So if I just go to File and then Load from your computer, and so that will go in, and you will just like upload a project. So for example, oh, look at that. I just happen to have some projects here. So clean the ocean using the Makey. So this is a project that I had created before. So if I just click open, what's going to happen is it's going to ask me if I want to replace the content. So it's a blank this is just got Scratch. So yes, I'm okay with that. And so it's going to upload everything that I did on that other project. So including all the sprites, all the code, all the backgrounds, any extra sounds, any of those things. So all of that was in a nice little packed .sv3 is the file type. And so there you are. So then you can just look at the project page. So it's already named Clean the Ocean Makey. And then you can write a description and then click share. And then to then add a project to a studio, let's just do that. So I'll click a demo of, anyway, it doesn't matter. So I'll click share. Now that this is a shared project, I can add it to a studio. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One is, if I'm going to add this to my own studio, I can do that with that button down at the bottom on the project page, the bottom right-hand corner. You just click Add to Studio, and these are my studios that I've created. But if you wanted to do it to a more collaborative studio, and you know that there's someone out there, for example, I have some friends that have a studio called Learn Studio. And so I just search for that, and I'm going to search for studios. And I know there's the studio for my friends from Learn. So if I click on their studio, I can now see that there's an Add Projects button. So if I just click on Add Projects, there's two options on doing that. I can cut and paste the URL right here, or that's if like it's a student's project and she or he are struggling on terms of getting it into the studio, but they sent you the link, then you can just drop the link in here and just add by URL. The other option is, if it's one of your projects, you just click on this Add Project here. And these are all your projects that you have. So my shared, my favorites, or my recent views as well. So hopefully that helped in terms of getting a project from your computer into a shared studio.
Just a quick question before you change.
Yeah.
Do they have to, so they have to share it like on the whole Scratch network to put in a studio? They can't just put it in the studio?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
But which begs the question, like, you know, we have to be aware of their digital footprint. And if students are, or young learners are concerned about their online footprint, then that's it's a great opportunity to share them about that, and to, you know, at some point they're going to have to, they will expand their digital footprint, and so starting off young with such a well respected social media platform, something like Scratch, it's, you know, you're not able to personal message anybody. It's all comment based. It's well monitored. You know, when I get students or learners to create an account, I always show them my account first, and I say, you know, what can you tell about me? And they say, well, you like Scratch and you like Lego. I'm like, great. Like, that's really it in terms of what I've shared. I've also shared that I'm from Canada, but like Canada's pretty big country, maybe not as populous as other countries, but they don't know where I'm from within Canada. And so this is where I can share other things about me if I want. So, but that's a great question, or hidden question, I guess you could say, Christine. But yeah. Joe, you said that Jen also had a question, or someone else had a question?
Yeah, I can try to ask it real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I've taught Scratch in a couple different ways. The one way is by lots of student choice, choosing a topic, you know, letting them explore some of the projects and activities. But I've struggled with teaching students individual skills and like specific coding things, because there's so much in Scratch, especially for an elementary audience or creators. And so one of the things I've done, and I want your philosophical feedback of this, is, so I'm a tech integrationist, so I go into classrooms and try to incorporate into the classroom. So for example, I've taken some social studies 4th grade regions projects where I pushed out a template, a map template, and have them learn how to create buttons and add audio. I've done this with continents as well. It becomes more like prescribed, like learning specific skills rather than, you know, really creating. And I feel a little bit guilty doing this, because it's like it's taking away the creative element, but it's kind of two things. It combines with the curriculum, and it teaches a few skills that I hope could apply. But I just was curious what your thoughts are on that, if you've done that, if you recommend it or don't. Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, I do. If any, I don't mind addressing it, but if other people or Joe.
Well, I just got a gift from Zoom. We got a gift from Zoom. They waived the 40-minute limit.
Yeah.
So if there's a 10:40 session, I'm happy to stay on and talk about that a little bit also. But
yeah, I was just going to remind myself of
you can.
Oh yeah, 10:40. So we have 5 minutes to transition. I guess what I'll say is, you know, thanks for those that were here. Jen, I'll answer your question, but for those that did want to transition to the other rooms, go get a drink, go get another coffee or whatever, you know, thanks very much for being here. And we'll see you in the next Zoom room. But so for Jen, what I would suggest is, I guess there's a couple ways. I guess I can stop sharing right now. I'm still sharing. I forgot that I was still sharing. What I would maybe suggest is something about trying to have students either giving them blocks to use, and then giving them a topic on. So instead of a prescribed, like, here's a bunch of maps, but you can have, you know, like, show me an area, or like pick a curriculum outcome and just say, like, okay, like maybe word it for a student, because we know that curricular outcomes are never worded. Like, it always takes me forever to read those, but to read it and bring it down so that they can read it and understand it, and you know, it's unpacked for them, and encourage them to, because the idea is, like, after they've done a bunch of projects, that they've learned a bunch of skills. So you could have like a grid of, here are the outcomes and here are the skills, and they don't necessarily have like this skill in this project, but you can maybe, you know, like I'm just thinking now is like a table that, you know, in the rows are all the skills that you want them to learn, and all the columns are all the all the outcomes that you would like them to obtain. And you know, like, this doesn't necessarily have to be a Scratch only type of thing, but if they demonstrate learning in other facets. So I know that choice boards are a big thing that allow people to do that. But if you're trying to integrate that computer science with Scratch in there, then having that sort of choice board, in the sense that, like, I want you to learn about operators, but you can pick any one of these dozen topics to do it. And because it's not about, like, you don't want the cookie cutter, everybody created a Flappy Bird equivalent, and this is a Flappy Bird and a Flappy Bat and a Flappy Cat. Like, it can get sort of repetitive, and it's not as exciting for the students to then look in the studio and be like, oh, this is how you did this, and this is how you did that, like, and that's your project. Oh, cool. Like, so that just a thought on how you could maybe do that. But to poke and reach out if you have any other questions.
Thank you.
No problem. And we have like 2 minutes before the other sessions start. So I just want to be, aware that all of you are probably interested in getting to another session. So I think we can probably, unless anybody has any burning questions, we can stop it there. And, but yeah, please feel free in the doc. Both Joe and I are in there. We both have our emails if you want to reach out, ask more questions. Would love to share more.
And and Cecilia, thank you, Andrew. Cecilia, there are meetups that are going online. Andrew's part of a co-op that's happening next Friday, midday. And so it's just it's this, but with more time and smaller.
Yeah, we'll have an hour and a half next week. So if you want to come?
This has been great. I'm in the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston, and only elementary and middle schools are part of that, not the high schools. They're owned by different orders and stuff. And I'm the only CS teacher in the Archdiocese. Teaching keyboarding isn't where I want to go. That's important, but we all learn that anyway. So I've looked to my students' future, but it's hard being an island. It's hard. So this has been, learn I'm doing things wrong, I'm learn I'm doing things right. So both things are very helpful.
Yeah.
So I will probably reach out to you guys. Thank you so much for your willingness to share. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for being here.
Is it meetup or meetups.com?
Meetup.com.
Yeah.
Meetup.
You have to You have to create an account, but then they're all remote now. There's a Houston one.
There is a Houston one, and there's a Montreal one. Christine, I know you're based in Quebec. You said Montreal. So, but yeah.
Great.
It is time, so I think we should we'll finish off. So
I'll stop the recording.